think we're live. Hello there, ladies, gentlemen, and unicorns. Welcome to another Sunday stream with me cursing at planes. Right now, I think there aren't any planes, probably because of the bad weather. So cheers to thunderstorms. And yes, the weird drink for today is water, because it's weird to just drink water, right? Weird. If you recall, last week there was no stream thanks to my internet service provider. You see, we switched packages so that I have more upstream capabilities from this very computer. And as always, it just didn't turn out as you would expect it, and we ended up with slower internet than before. And because this is an internet service provider, we realized this on Friday afternoon that we didn't have, for some reason, from one day to the next, no internet anymore. And they told us, well, we will send a technician on Monday, so just hang in there. What they didn't tell you is that if your service provider tells you someone will be coming on Monday, sometime between 8 a.m. and probably 8 p.m. What they actually mean is someone will call you about when the technician might be coming. So in the end, he came on Tuesday and set everything up. And our internet is not as fast as I would have hoped, but at least YouTube is telling me that it's receiving data from this very stream. So I'm hopeful that all my internet woes are at an end right now. Incidentally, they don't think it's funny when they tell you, yeah, a technician will come between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. If you tell them, yeah, then I'll be paying the bill between January and December. No one's laughing. No one's laughing but me. Okay, today I want to show you one of my pet projects that I've been working on for a couple of weeks now. Turns out the pet project, with me pet projects means I'm spending way too much time and effort for something that's not going to be that great or that innovative. But in the end, we're all just good old hackers, which means we just enjoy the act of programming and doing something. So I think this is it for the introduction. So let's have a look at the chat if I'm talking to myself. And apparently it's not. I'm not. Thank you all for coming and dropping by. Yes, the weird drink. Yeah, the weird one is water. Isn't that weird? I will also introduce a little drinking game for all of you watching. But first, let's finish off with the chat. Lady Mr. Leaf, at first glance, I thought he had 3 Wolverine lightsaber claws coming out of his gaming glove. Oh yeah, this was totally intentional about my thumbnail for Field Motion video, because it just gives it a little bit more dynamism. Words. Good evening, want you, and Gillard. I'm not trying to pronounce your last name. Greetings! And did you buy a Commodore PET? Not yet. But I think the big problem with me is when I'm in the mood for some eBay late at night, you never know what comes of it. And right now I don't have a Commodore PET, but I have, I think, 3 regular Commodores, 1 Commodore 2, and 1 or 2 disk drives. I have them somewhere in the basement. Who knows, maybe the spiders are having fun playing with them, but as always, you never know when you need them, and I got joysticks and everything, so I don't know why this is a thing that I maybe have a pet project. Now I get it. Thank you. So yeah, pet project. Yeah, but with the Commodore PET, what I like about the Commodore PET is the default character set. I don't know if you know it, but the character glyphs, for some reason, they are very nice for text-based stuff. But probably if you're into all those very retro-themed and retro-styled roguelikes, some are actually using the Commodore PET glyphs, which is quite nice. Okay, good, but talking about old stuff and old retro art kind of projects, let me just switch over there to screen capturing, which means probably that this thing will hang for a bit. And I have remapped the keys to the scroll lock. So when the transition happens, at least I'm not transitioning when I'm hitting the minus key on the numpad. So here we are in good old Game Maker, and before talking any further, let me show you the game. This is already the game, but this is not what I intended to, because of course it has a setup phase and a title screen. Spoiled again. Sorry. Here we go. So this is my DOS-like game. Want to get one thing straight? No, it's not an emulated DOS game. If you know the 8-bit guy, I think Dave Murray is his name, he made an actual DOS game, and before that a Commodore game, Planet X, and for DOS it's Planet X2, and this is the real thing. Mine just looks like a DOS game, but because I'm in the DOS game club, of course, I just love all this nostalgia that I have for menus that look like crap like this. So of course we got our little game set up, and as always you can set up the video mode, and for this one I got CGA, EGA and VGA. Let's start with CGA, and the sound setup. This is I'm very proud of, is you can choose your sound effects card. I think I've posted this on Twitter a couple of weeks back, but now there's more to it, of course. So we can choose Sound Blaster or PC Speaker. Let's go with Sound Blaster, and for those of you who are as old as this probably looks familiar, this good old Sound Blaster setup, where when I think I was 10 around at the time, and I had no idea what this means. OX230, OX250. All I knew was that what I had to select was OX220, and the DMA channel was 3, and the IRQ was 7 on my machine. It always worked. I'm not going to change it, and in my game, yeah, it's just a little fun thing. So any setting that you will pick, it will work. So let's test the sound effects card, and I hope you can hear something. Shooting. Okay, I might turn down the volume there so that you don't have this weird echoing effect. And because there will be music, you can also choose a music card between the Adlib, the PC Speaker, and the Roland MT32, which was the Ferrari among sound cards, because this was this little external thing you could put there, and it sounded real great because it had wave, well, not entirely wave-based samples, but a mix between wave-based samples and synthesis, and it sounded very good and had this great reverberant 1980s sound, and it sounded so much better than anything that was out there. But we will take the Adlib sound, and if you don't know how this sounds, it sounds like this. Some good old frequency modulated synthesis. So finally we have our game set up, and as you can see here at the bottom of the screen, it gives you this little summary, and then we launch the game. And this is all fake. This is all fake. It just pretends to be a DOS-like game with a little loading screen and loading time. So my game is called Solar Fighter 2000, and if that sounds familiar to Solar Striker, you're not mistaken. This is actually a throwback to one of my first real games that I was making when I was like, how old was I? I think I started thinking about making my very own space game when I was 10 or something. And yeah, I coded one game. It's a very linear experience. It's not much of a game, but nonetheless, I called it Solar Fighter. But I wanted to make a real game out of it, and back then I used for my mock-up screenshots, I drew a little bit of R-type art. And this is also the throwback there on the font. And as you can see, it's CGA, it's glorious. The 4 colors that are black, cyan, fuchsia, I think, this hot pink, and light gray. So, and if we hit now enter, well, there we go. We can pretty much see at first glance what this game is about. It's a little space team. Oh, yeah, sorry. It's a little space themed shooter, and for now this is all to it there is currently. But yeah, I was just having so much fun making it a DOS-like game. And also you have two different shooting modes. The first you can see here is when I'm just holding down the space bar, shoots this little, those little flashes there of lightning, what am I saying, those little lasers. When I hit control, bam, it's this huge blast, but of course this needs to just charge up a little bit, or has a cooldown effect as indicated. Well, I'm horrible at this, at my own game, as indicated at on the upper, what is it, left of the screen. So bam. But for me, I always liked about the shooters this very satisfying moment when you just in R-Type you just power up your weapon and then boom, let out one big blast, and that shoots like this, shoots through a couple of enemies, and it goes like a knife through butter. And yeah, I'm adhering here to the full CGA configurations. Again, it's all smoke and mirrors. This actually uses shaders when I'm hitting enemies, but yeah, the overall appearance is CGA. And you know what? This is the biggest crap. I'm really horrible at my own game. The biggest draw to this game for me is once I hit F11. Okay, are you ready? Bam! Now we're in EGA graphics, which are 16 colors, and when I hit it again, F11, bam, we're here in VGA colors. I didn't draw the animation of the enemies in VGA colors, but the player ship, if you can see it, has a little bit more colors than in the EGA version. So let's switch through CGA, EGA, and VGA. And this is all there is to it for now. So let me tell you what you think about it, because it's what my intention is, to make a DOS-like game like it could have been out in 1990, at least that it looks like it could have come out in 1990. But I want to continuously add more stuff to it. Right now it's this typical pet project, which means I got something working and now I polish it until it looks really good. As you've seen, I'm pretty happy with how the explosions look and everything. And the sound effects, and then I start maybe introduce another enemy type or proper level design or enemy placement, and then just keep adding from there. But whatever I got is already a somewhat finished game, as you can see by the title screen, which is already completed. Well, of course there is missing this big spaceship thingy there. I wanted to just draw a little, font that looks like the R-Type logo, and I went a little bit overboard there. And of course you can also switch here F11 and switch between all those different graphics modes. Let's have a look at the chat. You secretly want to be futuristic Wolverine. Yeah, I don't think it's a secret, but I don't think I can pull off the chops there, so I'm just your regular futurist guy. Cheers. Oh, about the drinking game, right. So the drinking game is this. I think we're all very fond of drinking games. So whenever I say unicorn, you have to drink about 2 liters of water each day to stay hydrated. Unicorn. There we go. Cheers. Does the sound break if you pick the wrong I/O address? Not yet, not yet. I don't want it to be that authentic. That the sound breaks and the computer just locks up. Oh my god, the good old DOS days. You know what? Maybe Sectronics should make a game where you just configure an old DOS computer to run a game, where you go into the config sys and balance it with the autoexec bet, and then the extended memory and expanded memory, and oh god, oh man, so many traumatizing memories are bubbling up right now. Yeah, I think Sectronics could pull this off, but yeah, I don't want it to be that punishing. Visuals are amazing. Oh, thank you. I'm jelly. Jelly. Oh, this is cute. In-game switching. Yeah, this is actually why I started this when I was playing one of the old LucasArts adventures. I think it was Day of the Tentacle Remastered, and you could switch back and forth between the old pixel look and the HD look, and I really loved just switching back and forth to see how the different interpretations went. And as you've seen, I don't have a game in any sense, but what I did is the title screen in 3 different graphic settings, and of course even the stars once you play the game, depending on your graphics mode, of course, it adheres to the limitation. So here we got stars in, I think, 4 different colors: dark blue, light blue, dark gray, and bright gray. And in VGA mode, we got the whole palette. I think I used a palette of, for the foreground, of 32 shades of blue and gray. And in CGA, it's just the bluish dots there and, yeah, light gray. But again, I really had so much fun just trying to make my graphics work at the different graphics modes. Oh, also, by the way, of course, the aspect ratio of the pixels for VGA is a little bit different because it's a little bit stretched in the vertical. So when I hit minus, no, it was plus, I can also switch back. This is how it looks with square pixels. So everything looks a bit squashed, and if you hit it again, this is how it's supposed to be played, so that it looks like the good old days. And if these pixels are a bit too sharp for you, if you hit minus on the numpad, and this is good, why I changed my transition to a different hotkey, you get a little bit of filtering that it is not as harsh as it is. And you know what? What also was fun about this whole experience was the technical aspect of it, because this game setup screen here, at first I thought, yeah, make just a couple of PNGs for this, and yeah, just switch between them. But in the end, you know what? This is how it looks filtered, which is much nicer. Just make a couple of PNGs and then switch between them. And in the end, this whole thing here is the first time that I really used buffers in GameMaker, which are just some dedicated memory that you can fill however you want to fill. And for me, I tried to make a buffer for this text mode, and it's for GameMaker standards, it's a draw text command for each cell on the screen. So it's incredibly expensive and bad in performance, but because computers are so much faster than they were 20 years ago, I don't care. So of course the screen gets only redrawn when you switch something there around, but pretty much I came up with my own DOS-like screen way of addressing the screen and print commands and such. So it's just a big block of memory. I think it uses a couple of bytes. It's been so long that I've been in this thing here. So text mode, there we go. There are just a couple of scripts for the text mode. And for example here, the print command looks like this. That, of course, I have a index of in the palette entries for what is transparent, and then who is the parent. Of course, GameMaker is 2.5D, or the 2.5D equivalent of being an object-oriented programming language. It is object-oriented, but not fully. So everything in my case has a parent, and if its parent doesn't exist, it destroys itself so that nothing gets locked up. And here the print command says in which column of the screen you want to draw something, which row, and of course we want here to clamp it that nothing leaps out of the memory boundaries. And the foreground color and the background color, which is not a color but actually a reference to an entry in the master palette. And the length of characters and the buffer stride, how wide the buffer is before we enter, before the next row gets drawn, and so on and so forth. So this is for GameMaker relatively down to the metal. I think this is as close as you can get to when trying to emulate this whole text mode on good old game machines as the DOS computer. And one thing that I also want to show you is when I showed a screenshot of, or was it a GIF of this little menu there, someone on Twitter, I think it was even George Broussard, who said, what you need now is when you end the game, that there are some advertisements for other shareware games, as was the norm back then, especially with Apogee. I remember the Apogee logo drawn in this text mode style with all these NZ and ASCII glyphs there. In EGA in 16 colors, and just little advertisements for, yeah, if you like this game, please call and distribute the shareware, but please don't be an ass and pirate it. And I thought, yeah, I could draw something like this, but how to address this? Because right now I have a bunch of basic shapes for this text mode, where I can just say, yeah, I want a frame to be drawn, or a text box, or a menu item or something. So it turned into something quite elaborate. And for the background, I just say, yeah, this glyph for the background, and yeah, just fill it up, and on top draw all those text boxes and status bars, and even this little shadowing effect. But I thought, wouldn't it be nice if I could draw just something like it in Photoshop, for example? And there is this nice little program. Let me show you if I can find it among all my shortcuts. It's called Playsky. I don't know if you've heard of it, and it's pretty much what I was looking for. Let's make this a bit bigger, and you can draw here with ASCII characters and do all sorts of crazy stuff. And of course you can export it. And this was the program I drew my Rogue t-shirt design with, which looks like, yeah, the good old Rogue game I've played on this channel a couple of months back. I think it was half a year back. And yeah, I made a little Rogue t-shirt where it just has the text there, Rogue, but it looks like it's made up of little Rogue dungeons. Either way, I made this with this little program, and I thought, oh, this is neat. Maybe I could make it work that it works for me, which means in the end I started a little editor. Let me just show you real quick, which I called TM Paint, and TM stands for text mode, and it uses most of the scripts, of course, of this little game maker retro thingy here. And let's launch it. And of course all the shortcuts work. There we go. No, don't scale it. Don't scale it. What did I do? I don't know how this program behaves when I scale the window. Let's be safe here on the stream and rescale it up again. There we go. So it's called text mode paint, and let's go to the canvas. And there you can just draw with your mouse different shapes. With the mouse wheel you can switch the colors. By the way, I have made this little reference card for myself. Let me show you. Can you see it? Let me switch over to the full webcam view. There you go. So this little reference card for the DOS colors from my old basic programs. I knew those by heart as a teenager, but yeah, for myself right now I really had to print me out a little reference card. But yeah, this is pretty much the painting program, and the cool thing about this is F1, you can save this buffer to anything that you want. Yeah, let's call this art, and of course now I can draw something there and load a buffer. And what do we have here? Art, and there we go. Oh look, the first plane of the evening. I'm so happy. So yeah, this is my little glyph painter program, and the most fun part about this was not so much that you can have the mouse pointer there, that whenever you click it changes what glyph is going to display. This is very straightforward. But the big fun was for me coming up with a file format, because we're all nerds and starting your own file format is quite fun. So I think in the file format I don't have it the specifications here now, but I think I have it somewhere here. Selection actions, text mode, quit, perform action, input. Apparently I don't have this is weird. Oh, serialize buffer to file. There we go. So yeah, this was, I'm just trying out metadata, because yeah, you can give your artwork, at least in theory, a name, an artist. Then of course there is, oh, there we go. There are the specs with the bytes and the offset and which type of value you got, and the header size, of course, and the file format version, and so on and so forth, until even the palette data gets stored. And you know, once you start with something like this, you go, I'm storing just this one buffer right now. You know what would be neat? Having it be like Photoshop, where you get a bunch of layers that you can just store and recall and move layers around and switch them on and off, that they draw on top of each other, and then export PNGs and so on and so forth, which I didn't do. I think I've only have a lengthy Google Doc of my specifications for pretty much the file format for multi-layered glyph graphics files, as I call them, GGF. It's not very catchy and I'm not too happy with it, but yeah, this is this is what I do to get my mind off work things. But yeah, like I said, so far only the specification exists, and yeah, I was even thinking about having objects like text objects that you could retain the editability, as in with Photoshop, where you have shapes that you can resize later on. For example, in my case, it would be boxes or some things like that. So it's quite neat, it's fun, it's utterly useless, and it was great fun to code, and I probably will only use it once and think, this was nice, Let's have another look at the chat, and Unicorn, be sure to stay hydrated. Game switching, I love your stuff. Oh, you probably the best dev YouTuber out there. Oh, this is so nice, but I don't think I'm a very good dev or YouTuber, because I don't dev much, and my YouTubing has also has died down a little because I've been so busy with a lot of stuff. Oh yeah, by the way, good news, I've started a new video, and the good thing is I've shot all I needed, I've recorded everything that I needed, screen capturings, voiceovers, little funny video bits, everything is recorded. I only need to edit it now, and the video is about the game you just saw, my little prototype, and specifically about the sound effects. I don't know if you've noticed them, probably not while I was talking over them, but I wanted the sound effects to sound like those good old R-Type sound effects. And if you have played it, R-Type, I played it recently for research purposes, and sweet nostalgia. Boy, I hate this game. Anyway, the sound effects aren't just explosions and everything is just rumbling and dying, the mix, not dying, drowning out the mix, because all you hear is explosions and rumblings. No, it's those little musical jingles and harmonies, and I was really curious about how they made it and tried to reverse engineer it, and I managed to do it. And my video is about how you can make such sound effects your own, and how I made the sound effects, the 3 sound effects I have for this little game now. And there will also be a little fact about Super Nintendo audio stuff. It's more, well, I made it sound more interesting than it is, but yeah, I've noticed a little something with the F-Zero's soundtrack, where there was, the people from Nintendo, especially in the old 8-bit and 16-bit days, people have been so clever at trying to retain memory and squeeze out as much production value as they can. At least make it lock up if you have an IRQ conflict, yeah. Maybe add mechanical difference between the graphics modes. Maybe enemies can only be killed if you have the same color palette as them. Yes, I've thought about it, that the actual video mode in some way is tied to the mechanics in a way. I don't know if you've played Evoland. I think it started out as even as a Ludum Dare game, where you start out in this I think monochrome one-dimensional game where you just keep opening up chests, and with each chest it introduces something new in the evolution of games. So it starts out as like I think a line drawing, and you open the first chest and then it looks like a Game Boy game, and you keep opening chests, and of course you have to solve some puzzles, and then it looks like a NES world, but it's still the same world. And in the end you have a PlayStation 1 like pre-rendered backgrounds, and between each scene it has to load, and on top of it are more polygonal characters, something like this. I really like this idea. And yeah, about my game, what I was mentioning before, that I hated R-Type because it is just so relentless. R-Type means one hit and you're dead. And I played it again in an emulator where I could rewind. So each time that I died, I had to rewind just a little bit, and it was relentless, but I managed somehow to beat it after an hour. And then the game said, cool, you finished it. You want to try normal difficulty now? Turns out I played it on novice. So man, those old games, they are too harsh for me and for my sensibilities nowadays. And for my game, this one here, I want to make things a little bit differently so that it's not as punishing, and also mixes up a little bit, or yeah, just shuffles around the mechanics of shooters. And maybe it's not just a shooter, maybe there are levels, side-scrolling levels, or just a top-down where you're more into puzzle solving, or yeah, it's more a little bit like an adventure, and in between you have these shooty bits. But yeah, I don't like that it's one-hit kill, and I also don't want it to be overly difficult, but at the same time, of course, I want it to have some kind of challenge. And right now, you know what? Let's change the music to that I can treat your ears with a good Roland MT32 music. Yeah, that I want. It's not so much avoiding the enemies, but trying to. Much like a tower defense game, that you try that none of them reaches, or as little as possible of them reach the other side of the screen where you're currently on. And right now, a little bit more fun than trying not to be hit, because at this stage here, I mean, it's a very early prototype, but at this stage I'm pretty overpowered right now, and I even gave the enemies now 2 hit points instead of just 1, which I had before. Yeah, but yeah, I think this would be more interesting than yeah, just trying to hit as many enemies as possible, but they aren't that big of a threat to you, so yet that you can just keep playing and keep trying. Something along those lines. Again, I don't know where to go with this, but maybe I think we're just half an hour in, because I want to show you some of my very early basic games, because yeah, I need those big quotation marks there, because many of those I've just glanced over them, and many of them aren't quite games in a sense. They're just little animation, ASCII animation bits, or just some yeah, cutscenes that play out with text and different colors for different speakers. But yeah, it's not that much of let's put it that way. I wasn't a hacker back then. Okay, 771 bar. Hi Phil, hi Beck 771. And oh hey, Red Hermit, welcome back. And Cursiboo plane. Yeah, right now it's raining, so rain means less planes, probably because it's like with birds. There are less birds out there, and planes and birds, pretty much the same thing. Let's start dreaming of exotic destinations. Oh yeah, how about, what's your favorite exotic destination in games? For me, I think now that I've played again F-Zero lately, my favorite location is the planet Silence, because for one thing, well, it's silent, and the other thing, it has this very nice purple background. So yeah, this is one of my favorite destinations. It's probably a little bit boring there, but quite. How about PSD Phil Strahl development? Yeah. Hey internet, I've come up with a new file format. It's called PSD, and it stands for my name plus development. Get used to it, and get used to the conflict of file types. So whenever Photoshop tries to open up my crappy file format, it will just crash. I'll sign a petition to take it over from whatever small company may use that extension already. Yeah, it's just, I think it's just this little indie company. It's called Adobe. They make cute little applications for content creators. Maybe, who knows, maybe something will come of them. I'm looking forward to that video. Thank you. Yeah, that's it for my little shmup, my shoot 'em up. And I think now is a good as time as any to show you some of my very early basic programs. And I found recently, I think it was last year, I found a box of old floppy disks at home, and most of them worked. I got a whole shelf full of CDRs, which I used as #1 archival medium. And even after half a year, when you open up those self-burned early CDs, it's just dust. It's just fairy dust. Because it does, the adhesive comes off, and it just, your data is like poof in the cloud. Not in the good kind of cloud, just gone. But the floppy disks still work. Floppy disks from, I think the earliest that I found was from 1993 or something, one of my very first basic programs that still survived, and it's just incredible. So, and I've put them all in my DOS box, because my DOS box is my go-to for nostalgia feelings. So let's go to games, game news. And let's just show you. This is just incredible from today's standards. You can find at archive.org or even some abandonware games. And all those games, it's just incredible how many games you can play in your Dropbox, in your DOS box, and have them in your Dropbox on the go, which cost like $50 to $70 back then, and were like big releases. And now it's just in my Dropbox, so I can play SimCity whenever I want. This is just great. And of course, it doesn't only belong to games, but it also extends to programs. So let's CD. Oh, of course, my DOS is a bit rusty apparently, and I got Borland C for DOS. You know why? I don't either, but I have it. And I've got, of course, QB 110 and QB 54. And this is how I started programming. It was QBasic or Quick Basic. So let's go to QB 45 and fire up the editor. This is Microsoft Quick Basic 4.5, I think from 88. Where is it about? And what's interesting is that it still looks a lot like Windows nowadays, right? You got those drop-down menus, and this was real fun for me, coming back to all those old basic IDEs, that they appear pretty modern to me, probably because I've used them so often before. But recently I tried out what's it called? This big text editor. WordPerfect, I think it was, and it didn't look as welcoming as this. So Microsoft at least got their DOS user experiences down. So why am I clicking around like this? Doesn't make any sense. I think I wanted to say something before, but I didn't finish. So I hope it wasn't something interesting or worthwhile. Okay, so by the way, those are the games or programs that come with Microsoft Quick Basic, minus Connie, because apparently I made a program that I titled Connie, and oh yeah, right, I recall. This is some PC speaker music. Oh, this is another thing I didn't touch. Of course, the music in my DOS-like game, you got the Roland MT32, the ad-lib sound, and the PC speaker sound. And I try to make them as authentic as possible. So the PC speaker sound, and yeah, pretty much anything that will play there, any music track is the same music track. But of course, one is as close as I managed to get it to sound like a real Roland MT32 or an ad-lib chip, and even a PC speaker. And PC speaker is just, if you don't know it, it's just this beep when you power up your old computer. And thanks to the Russian demo scene, I found plugins for Reaper. So you can have some MIDI tracks playing, and you can pretty much very easily convert them. Of course, you have to tweak them, but you can easily have it sound as if it were coming from a PC speaker. And as you know, it's just this beep, and you can only have one voice concurrently. So you have to use a lot of arpeggio, and yeah, just have to be creative to make something sound like a bass drum, or something sound like a chord that's being played. And yeah, and it also comes, which is great, from this little plugin. You can even export or record all the commands the program sends to the PC speaker. And it comes with this little basic program, and you can run it here. And let's try it out. and we should hear something. Yeah, this is the music for the sound test in my in my game here, in this one. So this was, it's possible to play this all the music you make in Reaper or the modern day machine with countless MIDI tracks. You can export them and play them in DOSBox, or even copy it to a floppy and play it on a real actual DOS machine, which is just great. So the sound setup, choose music card, PC speaker, and there you go. So it's this sound. And by the way, also, of course, it works also in-game, which I find pretty cute. It was so much fun making this sound. It's just one voice playing concurrently, but it works. It works. And now it loops. Yeah, so this was, where are we? DOSBox, there we are. So this was this Connie program there. So apparently I named it after my wife. And here we got Own. And my first games are from 1993. And like I said, there aren't much games. I think I had this educational computer, as it was called. It was just this big, yeah, more or less keyboard, and it just had this one row of LCD characters. But it came with a in a manual. It came with a full basic course, because apparently it had this basic thing on it. It also had some games where just, what is 2 plus 3? And you type in 5, and it says correct with this synthesized voice. It was called Mr. X, I think. Quite weird. And it got a whole basic, but at that time I was used to having the basic on the Commodore 64 of my neighbor, who introduced me to basic and programming essentially. And even for me back then, even in the early 1990s, just one line of basic, you can't program like this. But it had some listings, like turning, for example, converting minutes to seconds or something like this. And I think my first games, I think Pommes, this one here, was one of those things. It's pretty much, yeah, how many French fries have you eaten? You enter a number, and how many centimeters each French fry was. You enter a number, and it just multiplies them together, and it says, you've ate one fry that was this many centimeters long. So this was, I think this was pretty much the first game there. So how many, even a typo. So let's say we ate 3 fries, and each one was 3 centimeters long, and we ate one fry that was 9 centimeters. So computing, the power of computers for pointless programs. And yeah, and what also I found here is pretty nice, because I started with ASCII art before even knowing what this was. And this IBM PS Note N45SL was my first computer that I didn't quite own it. I more or less just occupied it, because it was from my mother's boyfriend. It was his computer he used for work and his client database. And I was just like, computer, I need to have it, it's just amazing. And this was this IBM PS Note. And I didn't recall what it was called. Sometimes you get hit with nostalgia and think, man, what was this big gray brick called with the monochrome LCD? And it was a 386. It was real slow. It had a beeper sound and an incredibly slow LCD. So it's nowadays, if hardcore gamers are complaining about the reaction time of your LCD, yeah, it's 10 milliseconds, and if you turn, you can see a little bit of ghosting. Yeah, I can play like this. This thing there had, I think, a ghosting of 1 second or something. You couldn't play scrolling games on it, because it just, you wouldn't see anything. So it was really nice to find out what this thing was called, so that I could Google images and look at it and say, yeah, that's the thing. And that's nostalgia for you. So yeah, also what is nice is line numbering from 1 to 17. And pretty much early on I figured, damn, what if I want to insert a line somewhere between there? And then I realized in DOS I didn't have to use line numbers because this was still a remnant from the Commodore 64 basic programming, and I just realized hitting Control and Z, or Y in this case, doesn't work like you would expect it to. It just kills a line. Oh, great. Yeah, copy and paste work differently in DOS. I mean, copy is Control and insert. It's like the vast controls for shooters. You would think this came, the first Doom had it. No, it didn't, and it was quite clunky, and I don't know how long it took for someone to figure out that vast really worked well. So you could use vast to look around, to move around, and your mouse to look. Who knew? Who knew? Okay, so let's look at something I hope more interesting from 1994. You know what? Let's have a look at the chat because I don't want to neglect all of you kind people. 12 concurrent viewers. Oh my god, it's half a classroom. This is great. Thank you so much for watching. So I don't want to neglect you. So let's have a look at the chat. How about PSDs? I always found that my favorite SimCity was the DOS version. Yeah, from the DOS version, the one thing that I recall is that you could print out your city. I mean, nowadays, it would be great if some games would come with some kind of print function that you could print out something, because nowadays it's just it would be a cute little gimmick, but I don't think so many people have printers. It's like CD-ROM drives or floppy drives. Computers nowadays don't have them anymore. Is pommes potato in German because it means apple in French? Yeah, it's in German we say pommes because it's from pommes frites, which is French for fried potatoes. So there you go. Almost missed the stream. Blah blah blah. Some channel. Welcome to the stream. I'm still talking, so you're good. My Canadian French is showing. We rarely say that. Yeah. Mateos, I think this is a Polish name, so apologies. I'm not trying to pronounce your last name. I can only fail. But thank you so much, and I'm looking for good indie Switch game. And I don't know if the chat got this, but for me, on my Switch, when I first got it, and there weren't so many games out there, and I think it was around Christmas, and I was really bored, and I found a game which I played obsessively. And I can show you, it was called Updating. No, you know what? Let's switch over there. Oh, where's my mouse? My mouse is trapped in the DOS window. There we go. Hi, now it's me in big. So let me show you. Yes, I can close Mario Maker 2 now. Yes, this is me, and the game is... Come on. People are waiting. From Bacon Bandit, this is, like I said, I spent way too many hours with this game, and I think I maxed it out. I got all stars, whatever there is, and the game is Letter Quest. So if you're into some kind of Scrabble-like games, it's something like this. You have this huge little map here, and yeah, I'm utterly unable to even select here a level just to show you. But yeah, for me this was I don't know why. For indie games you probably think of some great roguelike or real interesting engrossing strategy game, something with a big story or very interesting gameplay, and this is just a letter game. And for me it was, like I said, it's like for I don't like Sudoku, so this is my go-to. Also French Canadian, out of only 13 watchers. What a small world. Oh my god, so the amount of Canadian watchers is unusually high. So I can only say bonjour to French Canada. Oh, I don't know any French, so apologies for not welcoming you properly, but I think you can still, you will be able to follow along. Okay, what is this? It's called just DOS shell, and yeah, let's not save this one here. And it looks to be like some kind of DOS, mock-up DOS. Let's say Win version. And it even says Windows version 3.10. Does it do anything else? Oh yeah, I can use copy and CD. C and virus hard drive. Oh, I think, let's use this. Virus hard drive 130 go. Virus hard drive 130. Was it go or go? Apparently hard drive 1 to 30. Oh, it just small. Okay. Virus hard drive 1 to 30 go. And it reads, a virus is now on your hard drive. It will delete all data within 30 minutes. And then of course I would come in and save the day by typing virus delete code G721, and it would print virus deleted. I think I used this to troll one of my friends back then. Yeah, interesting. And of course, if you go to a different drive and go to CD Windows, you would have a different print, a different prompt. And so I just copied this whole thing here. And it says now here Windows. So you would do this with subroutines or anything. This just shows that I was a horrible programmer and probably to some extent still am. But yeah, you gotta start somewhere. And Money Man, I think this was one of my first games in a sense. Because I played, I think it was called Oil Imperium on the Amiga at a friend. And of course, when you're used to a crappy monochrome LCD 386, and then you go to a friend which has an Amiga, it's just mind-blowing. And you know what? Apparently I'm still there in full screen. Am I? There we go. Sorry, again it happened. And now it's spazzing out. Yeah, just to throw you this quick little DOS shell game again. Sorry again. So this is how this horrible program looks like. I just typed virus hard drive 1 to 30 go, and then it says virus is on your hard drive. And of course the same thing here for C Windows. Yeah, thank you for telling me to show the screen. Yeah, I should pay more attention to the chat or to OBS or just anything in between. So I hope it wasn't too boring for you just seeing me watching and looking at my horrible code. Okay, so the first real game there was Money Man, and I have no recollection what it does ever. Okay, it starts and asks you, let me just move the window here a little bit to the side that you can see it. It asks you in which color you want the text to be. And I think we can all pause at this point and step back and consider how I program games nowadays. The first thing I think about it is, how can I make this look nice? And over 20 years back, I was thinking about, this is a game, I got a title screen, but the first thing, the most important thing I want to ask the player, not their name, what kind of game mode they want to play, what choices they want to make within the game, no. What color they want the text to be in. So let's pick white. White. Music and sound, yes or no? You know what? Let's go with yes. Apparently it has music or something vaguely related to music. And it says, this is your save. Apparently those little asterisk signs represent money. And now it asks me, what's your name? Surname! Exclamation mark. Okay, so it's Strahl. Oh, hello, Mr. Strahl. I am the computer. Do you want... man, when I'm reading this, it reminds me a lot of those... we got those, especially in the Germany and Austria. It's called Lustiges Taschenbuch, which is just a small paperback, and it comes out each month, and it's just filled with Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse comics. And I think most of the first they started out with the Karl Barks comics, and then there's this huge scene of comic artists in Italy, and it just gets imported here and translated. And these translations to German are actually very good, and a lot of my vocabulary in German I have from reading all those little Mickey Mouse books. And they're of course written in a very funny way. That sounds stupid. Yeah, it's not so serious, but at the same way, sometimes, for example, Scrooge McDuck, of course, uses very old-timey words sometimes, and yeah, it just differs between them. And if I'm just reading this, it sounds like one of those old books. So I don't know how to translate it, but if you want to show your rival, Mr. Petrodollar, who's boss? If yes, then how much do you want your starting capital to be? But it can't be over $100,000. So yeah, of course, let's go with $100,000. Alrighty then. First menu number 1. What do you want, Mr. Strahl? A. An oil field for $90,000. B. A villa for $200,000. Okay. So a place, oil claim is much cheaper than a villa, or one safe to keep your stuff in, which costs just $1,000. Or do we want to menu number 2, which is D? You know what? Let's have a look at the other menu. Oh, there we can choose a house with a pool, $80,000. Oh, this is nice. For the lottery, one ticket, which just costs $100, or a Ferrari for $150,000, or and E for even another menu. And apparently there is no menu number 3. So you know what? Let's pick a lottery ticket for $100. And now it says your new account is $999,000, and yeah, $900. So I think let's go back to the first menu and purchase an oil claim. On your oil claim, it gushes. The drillings cost you $1,000. Well, that's okay. But success is with you. Your remaining money, Vermögen. Ah, damn it! I'm really bad now with words and trying to translate on the fly. Yeah, whatever you have, all your assets are getting doubled. So I think we did quite well for us. Interesting thing I think about if you buy a lottery ticket. Oh, now I can see it. It just tells you just here below. I can't highlight anything there. Oh, damn it. It just tells you what number of the ticket has been drawn and what your ticket number is. And for right now it's just $0. But if I just keep buying, and it says number 76 has been drawn, number 77, number 80, and so on. But once you get lucky, the chances are apparently 1 in 100, and then you just make it big time. So I think this was my very, very first game, and I'm actually surprised at how much of a game it actually is, but I don't know how to end this game here. Is there, I think, damn it, I don't, oh, there we go. I don't quite recall how to to break off a basic game. Oil fields are nice and relaxing. Yes, they are. Lol, don't waste money on the lottery. It's a scam. Of course it's a scam, but I think here, if we can look at here, it's a randomized timer. And we can look at here. Yeah, the chances are random 1 to 100. And if what the number of the ticket that has been drawn equals the number of your ticket, then A equals A plus $95,000. And it says, congratulations, you have won $95,000. And it goes to 1,200 there. Oh, okay. And you can see here, now I've started my line numberings in blocks of tens, because apparently here I needed to insert some code. You don't do this anymore, of course, because you don't need line numbers, but in good old Commodore Basic, before each statement you had to have a line number so that it would sort correctly. And if you wanted to insert something, if you start with 1 and want to insert something between 1 and 2, well, tough luck. You need to renumber your lines again. And this is why you increment each line by 10. So if you need to squeeze something there in between, it's much easier because you get 10 chances. So you would, between 60 and 70, you would put in something at 65, for example. So this is the early days of programming. Okay, let's have a look at, I think, some more evolved programs from 96. I think my high time with basic programming was 95. Yes, there we go. So this is a lot here, and most of it I think is just animations, because once I realized that I could do some kind of loops, I realized that if I let the computer count to 1,000,000, or in DOS terms probably to 100 or 1,000, it would take a certain amount of time, and then I would update the screen with just a couple of new print commands and draw another thing. So let's look at this kind thing here that's called animation 3.base. Okay, and here I got time 1, time 2, and time 3. So those are just the counters, and for different intervals. And it says I have a little note here, and I think I should run this at 1,900 cycles in DOSBox. So let's give this a try. And yeah, this is my little ASCII test animation. Ooh, even with some kind of a palette effect. Knowing myself, I don't think that this was a true palette effect. I think, let's go here. Yeah, it's just for each line I just change here the color according to this little color reference chart, and I'm not adding anything or making it some kind of doing this automatically. No, it's just brute force. Each time I'm just printing it out again, each time anew, and yeah, having the colors there not automatically but manually entered, because why not? Dynamite number 2, and because this takes a lot of time to load. Dynamite, ladies and gentlemen, blowing up a house, and I recall this animation and I was inspired to make this. This is a long piece of music there. I was inspired to make this from, I think it was Super Mario World, when you finish one of the Bowser's children's castles, and there's always a original way where Mario would blow up those castles. And I think this was the inspiration for this one. Wow, I did similar animations in Pascal. Oh, this is great. Yeah, Turbo Pascal. I used Turbo Pascal in Windows and even Delphi. My God. Horrible programming languages from today's standpoints, but back then we didn't know any better. But yeah, it's interesting where you can really see where your personal strengths lie. As you can see, for me it was more making things look pretty, playing around with animations, with the tools that I had. And of course I was also playing a lot of Mario Paint, because this was the hottest shit for me. Mario Paint, when my mother told me that she would get me Mario Paint if and only if my grades would be good. Of course she got me anyway. But I wouldn't sleep for I think 2 days. I was just so excited to get this program, and then I would just draw and paint maniacally for days. Amazing that animation with the house alone could make for a good game. I don't think it could, but it's still nice to have it there. What's this? Colors. Oh, this one is called Colors. So this was this thing here. Again, I think I got my first computer around 96, maybe it was all 96, because like I told you, the first computer was monochrome, and I didn't know what colors were. It was just different shades of gray. And I once got a book which was called, I think, Windows for Kids, and there were colored screenshots, and there was also a screenshot of Microsoft Paint, or Paintbrush as it was called. And you had those little palettes, of course, with colors. And then I knew, okay, I need to take the fourth on the top from the right, which would be dark purple, and then draw all my little pictures in black and white, but at least I had a reference for colors. Man, I had a horrible childhood. Okay, let's pick something from 96. Okay, this is called Trick Film, so it's an animation. Another one of those animations. And it's quite elaborate. Looks a little bit like, reminds me of Boulder Dash, if anyone recalls this. And but now for this Solar Fighter game, and I made this game. It came out on not 4. I think it was even 6 floppy disks or something. You know what? I can find out for you, because I even drew, because of course this is very important when you make games, to draw the covers for the floppy disks. Okay, I think I know where to find it, because I'm a pack rat in a sense. I'm a hoarder, and this especially concerns data. So everything that I find, I got at my fingertips. As you can see here, you probably can't because it's so small, but it's sorted by year. So the first folder that I have is from 1989. Christ. But I probably got here's physical media floppy disks. And yes, there we go. And for some reason, while I was feeling nostalgic, you can't keep floppy disks around nowadays, because where to store them? They're just huge and take up a lot of space. So what I did was I copied each of them and took a picture, a photograph of how they looked like. So for the younger viewers among us, those are my floppy disks, how they looked. And as you can see here, some of them are programs. This is a completely legitimate copy of Lemmings, apparently. This is also. And here my own programs, which I printed out with here my first color printer, I assume. Of course, the DOS, MS Publisher. Holy crap, now we're just sorting through, oh god, my stash of good old pirated software. But where is Solar Fighter? Oh, Attack and Rescue. This was already a Windows game that I made with point and click. This was, I think, the grandfather of what's today it's called, I think, Fusion is the game, the game engine. But yeah, this is, I printed also my own labels, but now, where is Solar Fighter? Where is it? To quote Duke Nukem. There we go, there it is, Solar Fighter 2. This is the label for Solar Fighter 2. And we got here Solar Fighter 1, and it came on 5 floppy disks, as you can see. It's 1 of 5, and why 5 floppy disks? What did I put on there that warrants so much space? WAV files. I had this little microphone, and I made little radio plays in a sense, where I was using, in the background, I had the vacuum cleaner. For, of course, you need to have some kind of rumbling jet engine in the background when something takes place on a starship. So I would use in the background mom's vacuum cleaner was saying, "Oh my God, we're crashing! Ah!" Yeah, and this is what happens there. And it was disk 1, disk 2, disk 3, disk 4, and disk 5. And you can see this is quite cute. Even here, this little stylized asteroid field I just drew there. And I called myself White Panther. The reason for this being is because I saw a drawing of a logo of a panther for some, I think it was for a bus, a tourist bus company. And it was this big black panther, and it had this outline, and I thought, oh my god, this looks great. I called myself Black Panther, and my mom said, probably don't want to call yourself Black Panther. And I said, why? Yeah, just don't do it. And this is why I went for White Panther, because yeah, why not? Okay, let's have a look at the chat and to see if any people are still there among us while I'm reminiscing about my collection of pirated software. You can say you had a horrible childhood, but I played a lot of games, made none, and now I have some catching up to do with game dev and dev art. Hey, it's never too late to catch up. I mean, I started making games when I was, I think, 30, when I really thought, now let's do this for real, let's get Game Maker, and for 1 month I will just cram and try to learn this thing. And this is how I started getting into it. And then a friend of mine who's been making games for much longer was doing this competition where he had to make a game within 48 hours. And I thought, this looks neat. Is this every weekend? And no, it was 3 times a year. And it turned out to be Ludum Dare. And here we are now. Oh, Mr. Julius, greetings. And yes, you may ask how old I am, but first I let you all guess, because I have a perverse enjoyment of people getting my age wrong. And probably I think the lighting is good, so I'm looking forward to all of you getting my age wrong, unless I've said it before, so probably some of you know how old I am. Okay, so this Solar Fighter game, it came on a couple of floppy disks, and it was very linear because I didn't know or was aware of a way to store game data between sessions. So in the end, it was just bottleneck after bottleneck, and it would play out pretty much, yeah, like a radio play, where you would have some kind of dialogue that I would also read out as a sound file. And it was over in like 50 minutes, and it was just a cringe-worthy story of intergalactic peace and friendship and stuff like this, but also adventure. Bumped the microphone, I'm sorry, but also adventure. And it was over after 20 minutes, came on 5 floppy disks. And yeah, like I said, I don't have had a way of storing data between sessions, or even have a way of sessions. So it was just a succession of exe files, one after the other. And Phalon was called, I think this was the ship you were on. It was called Phalon. And you know what? Let's Joe 1. I don't know what this is. Planet. Of course, yeah, you're on the planet. And look at this. It's a purple planet with lightning. And this is only very short, because it would play this basic program, which is just an animation. And then in DOS, it would invoke the Sound Blaster to play a WAV file, because I didn't know how to do this from basic. And once this WAV file was done, it was all in a batch file. Then the batch file would load the next basic program that would come after this, probably Planet 2. And this is this one here. And it says Cosmo. It's Cosmo is your companion. And Cosmo, because of course Cosmo it's a space game. The Cosmos, Cosmo, there you go. Cosmo says, I would say we go into this cave. There it's not as wet. Of course, it's raining there in the story. And you, the player, says, which cave? And Cosmo says, the one that blinks. Oh god. Enter. And then again, I think there is another little bit of sound bite. I had this CD with sound effects on there, so there was a lightning storm, and made some reverberant, echoey sounds, because now we're in the cave, something like this. So let's have a look at the chat. And I thought you were under 30. Oh, thank you so much. Moisturizer. 33, 35. Yeah, you look like 24. I take it. I take it. Thank you. Okay, actually, I'm 35 for now, but within the next couple of days, it's close to my birthday. So within 2 weeks, I will be 36. Thank you very much. But I don't feel that old, because, of course, moisturizer and unicorns. People, be sure to always drink your water and stay hydrated. It's good for the skin, I've been told. Okay, so thank you very much for all your flattering answers in the chat. I feel very much confirmed that people get my age wrong, which is great. At least for now. It was bad in grade school, because I was always looking a lot younger than I was my age, and yeah, But right now, back then people said one day you will be happy if people get your age wrong, and look at that. Now I'm so old that I'm happy when people get my age wrong. Unless you're talking to teenagers, when you ask them, how old do you think I am? They say, I don't know, 60. And don't ask teenagers. Don't ask them. But I really wanted to show you something of Solar Fighter there, and maybe this one. Oh yes, this I think was the first Solar Fighter, which was more of a real game than the one that I just told you about. You know what? Maybe I make a video or something on a full playthrough of my old game, where I can, yeah, ridicule it pretty much from start to finish. Because I was, I think, 14, 15, 16, something around this age. While other people at this age, when they were busy with computers, they were, yeah, just finding out all those secrets you could do with assembly language. I was just happy making my little Mickey Mouse dialogue there in BASIC. Okay, so it's Solar Fighter by White Panther, and we got some ASCII graphics of apparently a solar fighter. So this is your run-of-the-mill standard science fiction fighter, which also looks like a jet plane. I don't know. Okay, to get out of the game, just type help. Okay, so and it asked me what's my name is, and it is of course Phil, not greater than Phil. Very well then, Commander Phil. The state borrows you of a plane, and the state, it says USA, just to be sure. So the USA, the state of the USA, the country of the USA, borrows you of a plane, a flyer, parentheses, solar fighter. So the plane, the ship is called Solar Fighter, with which you should fly into space to explore it. Where do you want to start? Oh, this is nice. What I really find interesting now when I'm looking at my old games, of course, some of them were about shooting, but a lot of those were influenced by my very, let's call it involved watching of Star Trek The Next Generation. I still consider Captain Jean-Luc Picard as my de facto dad, because I learned so many wise things from this good old man, which is that, yeah, don't be overly yes, stay curious, but don't be overly aggressive. And yes, it's just, I learned a lot of life lessons from the good old captain. So thank you, Captain Picard. And also here it is not about fighting anything, it is about exploring. And it asks us, where do we want to start? On Earth, the Moon, or Mars? And this is a tricky question, because I know on Earth, when I say, yeah, we want to start on Earth, because it reads, because of the gravity, you will use up a lot of fuel. Do you want to start somewhere else? And I say, yeah, of course, let's start somewhere else. How about the Mars? It's almost impossible to start or to launch on the Mars, because it doesn't have any gravity. Yeah, wasn't that smart, kid? You have to start somewhere else, and it says edge, which is just na. I don't know what if there is an English equivalent of this. So let's use the Moon, and the game will congratulate me and says, yeah, you've picked a pretty good choice, Commander. The Moon doesn't have a lot of gravity. When you launch, you don't use up that much fuel. Do you want to start somewhere else? No. And now we're in the vast majority of space, now in the vast void. This looks good. Vast void of space. And it asks us, because there is no point to guide us, where do we want to go? And we can go to north, south, east, west, or back. Because, as we've all learned, space, of course, each kind of space has a north. No, each planet has a north. Ah, damn it, I completely hacked up this, what was it, Doctor Who quote, where they say, where Doctor Who says, yeah, I come from the north. Or, no, I'm, oh man, I completely messed up the punchline. Where it says, yeah, I'm an alien. Really? You sound like you come from the north. And Doctor Who replies, well, most planets have a north. And I find this hilarious. So let's go to the north then. And it says, there's a meteorite shower. What will you do? Change cardinal direction? Try to restart? Or just close your eyes and hope for the best? You know what? Let's close our eyes and hope for the best. You've been hit. Game over. Again, let's try this one more time, and I will have a look at the chat. People don't pay attention when you show actual years in those directory names. Oh, good. Yeah, of course. I almost said 36, but that's because it is how old I am. You recall some of the same tech I saw back in the day. Yeah, I think at a certain point you really know how old a person is when you see them use DOS commands or how they will move around Windows, the good old Windows 3.1. It's a telltale sign because you know that they were brought up with this kind of technology. If you give me a good old Macintosh, I have no idea what to do. I have no idea. Teenagers are dumb. I quote you on that. I can still understand few words. So years of learning German at class and not completely pointless. Yeah. Yeah, I also know some German words, but when when I'm talking German, I constantly say, yeah, I only know this word in English. And people look at me strange, and now that I'm trying to talk English, some words I only know in German. So it never works out. I feel like a little bit like Arnold Schwarzenegger, who never really learned English, or well, he apparently he learned, but he doesn't sound like it. So I hope my accent is not as terrible as the Terminators. I like North Moon. All bases are base 10. This is good. Okay, let's call ourselves base 10 then. And if you can hear some noise on the audio, this is because outside it's raining. It's a rainstorm, and this is great because it was so hot here the past days. So I'm very grateful for that. Okay, let's start on the moon again. This is good. And do we want? Oh, no, I didn't want to start somewhere else. Let's start there. Do we want to go north, south, east, or west, or back for some reason? But I don't think we want to go back after we've launched. You know what? Let's pick east. I don't know. The east. There's apparently some sound. Okay, it says that the ship's camera snapped the following pictures. Apparently this should have played out much faster. So apparently it's some kind of planets or squids or alien ships. Who knows? Oh, it reads, those things look like UFOs! Exclamation point. Do you really want to the east? Well, those are Eastern aliens. Apparently, so of course, let's meet them. This was your last chance. You see a planet from which laser beams come from. What will you do? Land, flee, or keep flying on? You know what? Let's try to land. Landing is not that easy, but you can do it. Just answer the following question. How big is the space? I think, knowing myself, I think this is a trick question. So let's say infinite, unendlich in German. Wrong! Watch out! A laser beam! Whom! Game over. So apparently, you know what? I'm really curious. Oh, the end, and we got a random little jingle there. Oh. This is unexpected. I think this was when I started toying with graphics and realized how horrible, how slow graphics are in BASIC. But at least we got an unimpressed smiley face. That's not smiling, but yeah. You know what? I really want to. Okay, there it is. No, this is a different question. I recall those here. What do you want to do? Answer the following question. How big is space? Okay, so it says input before, but it never checks that variable. It just prints wrong. Watch out, a laser beam. Of course. Yeah, this was making games back then. I was apparently trolling other people or myself and not really good at programming, but at least this was, I think, one of the games or one of the programs that came to be as closest to actually being real games, where you could choose between something and live with the consequences, but more or less it's either animations or just graphic novels without the graphics. So novels, but interactive novels. No, they weren't quite interactive, but yeah, I don't know if there's a term for that, but it's not good. It's not good. Oh, hello there, PyCode. I think the young Phil wants us to feel bad about leaving his game. I think so. I think young Phil wants you to play his horrible games over and over. You know what? Let's pick one of the later games then. What's even got a game from 2017 and 2019? What's this about? Demo A. What's this? Of course, yeah, this is one of those PC speaker sounds, but what's from 2017? I'm curious now. CP test LD pause PayPal. Oh, you know what? This is my PayPal fee calculator, and I think I was at work or something and didn't. I had my computer reset up, and for some reason I didn't have any IDE there, and this is my calculator for PayPal fees. I don't know why I did this in BASIC within DOSBox, But this one here, just, yeah, you enter an amount like 20, and then it says if you for 20 bucks you lose €1.3, and half loss is 51 cents, and amount after PayPal, apparently it's just a PayPal amount calculator, which I coded in 2017 in BASIC. If you ask me why, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. But I got LD39 version 1. And I think this was just for one throwaway line for Ludendau 31, which was, I think nowadays you can't code something in BASIC anymore, because this is not how you do this. And for this I needed something to show you, BASIC, just to illustrate some things. And this is, I think this is this one screen that I had there. Does it run? Yes, it even runs. It even runs. All engulfing darkness, a distant rumble half awakes you from your dreamless sleep, but not enough for you to open your eyes just yet. Oh, I think this is what, exit? Oh dear. Okay, it's Control C. Good. I think this was from Power MT, if I'm not mistaken. This is cute. You should check out Dark Basic. You know what? From when I never gave up making games completely, but I also never felt that I found the right language for me. I toyed around with Click and Play in Windows 3.1 and Windows 95, and somewhere around the year 2001 or 2002, I found this little IDE that said you can make games but also tools there. And I paid, this was I think the first purchase for game development that I made, for dedicated game development, not just paying for some game or just some software that says you can make a game with it, but it was just drag and drop. No, this was the real thing, and I think back then it cost 39 euros. And let me show you, it was called Pure Basic. And this is, I think, from a French developer, and it's still being developed, and I'm still eligible for updates. And believe it or not, I'm still using this, and I even make little tools with it, because the exe files you can make with this are incredibly lightweight. And for some reason, you can also compile on an Amiga, because it's nice to be able to compile on an Amiga. Why not? But let me show you one of the apps that I made with this one here. Oh my god, it's probably way too small for you to see. But it's, yeah, this one is also on my itch.io page. It's called ByteWiz 1.0, and pretty much you can load any file, and it just assigns colors to each byte. So the byte of 0 is black, and 3F is red, and 7F is blue, and you can load a different lookup table for colors, and you can even say you want it plotted as circles or just as little dots. People asked me, for what is this for? And I found it incredibly helpful. For example, if you're looking at old ROM games, and if you want to know how is it compressed, or is there anywhere where all the text is stored. And with this one, if you have a hex editor, and as you know, you just have all the bytes as hex values, and it's really hard to spot patterns where something is within the code or within the file. And this is why I coded it for myself, just for example, where I can say I can load a lookup table. Of course I can't, because I don't know where this resides on my hard drive. But yeah, let's just pick my art file, which I drew before. If you recall from my little DOS drawing program, let's pick this one here, and say we want to visualize it as circles of 5 pixels across, and one row is 128 bytes. And let's make a PNG, and let's visualize this. And because I'm cool, it has this console there, and now this is the output here, and probably circles don't look too well. Let's visualize it as squares then, but I don't think there is much to see here. Can I, because it has transparency, yeah, in this little file, because I just drew something there is not much to see. You know what, I will try this now again here, because apparently I completely locked up my program, and wow, Wow, so this one, this one crashed horrible on stream. I'm a horrible programmer. I'm a horrible programmer. So where was it? Not on desktop. It was on documents. Yes, art documents. There we go. So let's say 128 bytes across, just to visualize it. Put it on the desktop, and there we go. Okay, so this is how it looks like. So all those little dots here, I think I use 3 or 4 bytes for each glyph on screen. I think 1 for the foreground glyph, 1 byte for the background glyph, 1 byte for the foreground color, and 1 byte for the background color. And this is it. And here on top you can see some, I think every 4th byte or something happens there. So this is the purpose of my little program, so that if you have a file and you want just get a glimpse of the structure or just an understanding of how its structure looks like, you just put it in there. And this is this little byte viz. And I made it with pure basic. And the great thing about pure basic is, if you really want to, you can even go into assembly code for some statements, and it works. And the exe files, if you don't use a lot, it just uses the libraries that you really used in the code. And I think the smallest exe file you can get is like 16 kilobytes, which is very lightweight, and it still works. It works under Windows 10. Even got a 64-bit version, and it's just great, and I enjoy making tools with it. But I have to force myself now to do some stuff with Java or C# just to get into the mind frame of doing stuff with open object. This doesn't make sense. Object-oriented. Not structures, patterns, object-oriented. I need to start thinking in object-oriented ways, because this is still a little bit new to me, and I really want to give Unity a proper shot one day or another without a lot of pain and spending way too much time on Stack Overflow. Okay, PowerMT. Yes, it was PowerMT. So I'm sorry for neglecting the chat for this long. You are spreadsheets. There are spreadsheets these days, you know. Yes, I know. And for some reason, I felt maybe I should do this in BASIC, because maybe I was feeling nostalgic. I don't know. I don't have much of my old games, but when I was young, I had no computer at home, so I drew laptops with my custom RPG games. Imagination makes it the best game I ever made. I think a lot of us drew when they didn't have access to a computer, drew just levels or games out on paper. And I think at home with my parents, there's still some drawings that I made of F-Zero tracks and F-Zero cars. And recently I've played F-Zero again, and it still holds up. And I was almost tempted to look up my own tracks and hack it together, learn how to make a ROM hack of the old F-Zero, that I would be able to play the game or the tracks that I designed as a 10-year-old. Good idea for a tool. I know, based on Power Montana. Oh yes, just couldn't remember the title for a moment. Yeah, I don't remember the titles of my own games. Sometimes, especially when I'm making music, I have this whole list of potential titles for tracks, because I'm always out of ideas and I don't recall what I call something. And this is when I'm looking through my old games or my old folders. I have to sort them by year, because if I see a game and it's called Super Money Maker, I don't know. Is this a game? Is this a tool? Is this a program? Is this a Ponzi scheme? Who knows? But apparently I called it like that. Did I miss showing the game? Vicious M. You know what? Since I've been talking for 1.5 hours, I will run the game one last time and open again this up for questions, should there be any, because I don't think that there are any questions left, because I've been talking so much and in such verbosity. So I don't think there's anything more that you wouldn't know by now, that because I've been spilling the beans about my whole programming career, and come to realize it. Yeah, there's not much programming actually, or results to my programming, but it was a lot of fun. So you know what? Let's have the music from before only as PC speaker, or you know what? Let's use the adlib music, and the sound effects are PC speaker. And launch the game. So you didn't miss much if you haven't seen this game. It's just a shooter, an endless shooter going nowhere, and I'm not quite sure where to go with things. But yeah, sometimes it's just nice when you're working the whole night. I had a very stressful week. I did a lot of video work and digital compositing, and yesterday I just played this for a quarter of an hour. It was eerily relaxing actually. And yeah, and I thought maybe I keep working on it when I feel like it. But again, we also have the big elephant in the room, that is the Ludum Dare 42 postmortem. Still working on it, making a little bit progress here and there. I can see the finish line, but it's still in the distance, and I think the next Ludum Dare will happen without it being finished. But the good news is, for the latest Ludum Dare, it was it 45 or 46? I have the script pretty much written completely, so yeah, it's not that I'm not doing postmortems anymore. It's just that this one is completely clogging up my whole pipeline, in a sense. Yeah, I'll join this Ludum Dare. This is great. This is great. More Ludum Dare participants mean more interesting games to play, and it's the more the merrier. I think everyone should be making games, because if you're creative at least a little bit, or you just want to try it out, making games is a great way of just trying out pretty much anything you can do with a computer. It's programming, learning about how a computer works, but also being artistic, telling a story, writing, painting, making music, making sounds. You can do pretty much anything and somehow make a game out of it. And I think the most interesting games are from people who never had to do anything with games and tried it out themselves, and it's a whole new perspective on how they approach things, because I think many of us who've been playing games for decades now, we instantly know what it means in extra life, leveling system, HP, MP, cooldown, all things like that. And I think there is just so much more that's interesting in games that nobody else tried, because everyone keeps defaulting to, currently it's a pixel puzzle platformer with Souls-like and roguelike elements. And yeah, I think there's just much more out there than we currently see. And also, this is why I really like indie games, because this is where the innovation happens. On the other hand, sometimes it's nice to go see a movie that's all about big explosions and popcorn. And currently I'm playing Watch Dogs 2 finally, because Watch Dogs 3 is coming out next year, and it's just the dialogue is just so cringe-worthy. I've been playing it for 20 hours or something, and the bad thing is I've grown attached to all those idiots spouting nonsense technobabble dialogue. It's just, I really want to see how everything works out for those adorable little idiots of those characters there. But it really doesn't work as a game or the story that the game is trying to tell. For example, you're playing Anonymous, or in the game it's called DeadSec. You're just a loose collective of hackers who want to change the world for the better and educate people how corporations are taking advantage of them and their data. And yeah, you're trying to help the everyday people. All the time you go around stealing their cars, running over pedestrians, and just wreaking havoc all about the city, killing guards, killing innocent people, just so that you can, I don't know, steal a script to a movie where the hackers feel that the script writers didn't get the technology references correctly in there, something like this. So it's just mind-bogglingly stupid, but at the same time it's fun. It's fun driving around San Francisco. It really looks great. It's a Ubisoft game, so there's always something popping up on your minimap, and I have to actively ignore certain things because I know I have a tendency to be obsessively compulsive, and I really want to get it done and over with. Okay, so let's have a look at you great people who are still around. It's 16 concurrent viewers. Oh my god, we could almost fill a classroom with a lot of you. This is insane. You've mentioned Reaper earlier. Is that your go-to DAW for everything sound music? Almost. I started with Sonar, or as it was called back then, Cakewalk Pro Audio, and I think I even, you know what, because I have it open here, I even have the floppy of the first version of Cakewalk that I have, because I made a little, of course, floppy label for it. If I can find it, Pocket Recorder. No, this also is owned now by Adobe. Adobe just eats everything up. Yeah, no, it's I started with Cakewalk, which now is called Sonar, and then I think 2005 I really started with Reason, not because I wanted to, but because in college there was this one course for digital audio, and the first year everyone had to take it, and this is where I really got introduced to Reason, and took a little bit getting used to, but to this day I love it because it's just so accessible for me. You just pop in a synth and switch on your keyboard and you can already start making music, plug in the guitar and off you go. But for anything that's more involved and uses a lot of plugins, for example, I have this big, huge string library which doesn't work with Reason because it's just so huge. I have to use Reaper. And Reaper, to me, Reaper feels like this underdog of, it has this indie spirit in a sense. It's like, yeah, we're just a small company, but we can do whatever the big guys at Steinberg, for example, or yeah, Nuendo and stuff. We can also do this at an affordable price. And so far, I haven't been disappointed, and I really like Reaper. Not as much as I like Reason. Like I said, in Reason, I just hit the keys and you can hear something. In Reaper, it's make a new MIDI item, route the MIDI input to channel 1, arm the track for recording, arm the track for monitoring, and so on. So it's not like switch on and just be creative. But for audio mixing and sound effects, I found it to be actually quite fun to work with. But at the same time, if I need to get something just done quick and dirty, I go to Audacity because everyone does, and I like Audacity because yeah, it crashes a lot, but still it has this little rickety feel to it. It's like, yeah, you're not perfect, but you know what? I still like you. Looks nice. You made the sprite animations as well. Yes, I did, and it was a lot of fun. And for the sprites, usually I start out with the EGA version. That's the 16 colors version. And where's the player? Here is the player sprite, and for the player I toyed around with a lot of different appearances until I came across a build. I'm already switching to German now. An image of a wasp, or was it a hornet? Yeah, or something like this. And this is that it doesn't look too much like Super R-Type. And yeah, and I started from the EGA and then tried to put in more colors, that it has this little glowy feel for the VGA version, and then see what if it still translates to CGA. So it's more or less a kind of exercise to see if I can still do some pixel artwork, because I want this to look really nice. I want this game to look like if it came out in 1990, it would be called probably one of the prettiest games of 1990, but disappointingly boring. Probably. I will join just because I saw your videos. Oh my god, thank you so much. I think I never knew that my videos would inspire people to do, but I've heard this now so many times that I started to believe that my videos are inspiring to people, that they pick up making games, and I urge you, yes, make games, yes, take part in game jams, connect, just be welcoming and welcome everyone else into this great field of making games. I don't know why I'm so passionate about, but it's, like I said, it's just accumulating everything that's creative, that you can do creatively with computers, from art to music to pretty much anything. Stick it in there and make an experience for people. And isn't this great? I love making games. I'm not good at it, but I love it. 100 minutes already of my stream. Oh dear. Oh no, I'm too late, about to cry. It's okay, Prada, it's okay. Next Sunday I will also stream something. I don't know what, because it's going to be... Oh yes, I know what I'm going to stream next week. Because, big announcement, well, big. Next week I will be on Friday and Saturday. I will be attending the Game Dev Days in my hometown in Graz, in Austria, in Styria. And it's just 2 days. It's and I think admission is free because, yeah, I think I didn't pay anything for the tickets, and I think no one will. I got invited over Twitter. Nothing formal. I will just be there as a participant and just check things out. And maybe if any one of you is from Austria there, who's watching this now, maybe I will see you there. It's just 2 days, and like I said, I don't know what this is going to be about, but they got a lot of interesting speakers from all over the world. So I have no idea what this will be about. I only know that it's probably going to be interesting. So if you're there, say hi, but be aware, I'm pretty shy. So if I don't make eye contact, it's not because I don't like you, it's because I'm shy. But talking into a camera in a room all by myself is fine, apparently. I saw your videos with my girlfriend and now she's making small games. Oh, this is great. Like I said, the more the merrier. Everyone should make games. Tell your parents, friends, families, pets. Everyone should make games. I want to see games that I would never see coming from Electronic Arts, because they're all about trying to squeeze out every last penny they can from their usual target demographics that are 14-year-old guys who like to play football, soccer, or Call of Duty, and just cram that shit full with microtransactions and see how much they can milk their target demographic. And the funny thing is, it's just this little splat on the big landscape of possible games of people who could make games. And this, I also think this is what's so interesting about interactive fiction games, because if you tell people, yeah, you should make a game, try making a game, it can be a little bit overwhelming. But if you say, yeah, just write something, and you know what, you can make a branch there and can say, yeah, if people click this sentence, they go to there, write something there. And I think this is one of the best things to get people who never even thought about crafting an interactive experience of some kind, to really ease them into all this game making. Because in the end, there's always deeper. The rabbit hole never ends. And in the end, you can go pedal to the metal and start doing bit shifting in assembly on a ZX Spectrum and also have a great time. Secretly, you're one of the speakers. Oh no! I'm just in the audience there and playing little mouse and just taking notes, probably because I think there will be a lot of knowledge there. And yeah, just trying to expose myself to other people, because, like I said, I'm pretty shy. I'm pretty shy. Call of Duty or Battlefield? Yeah, I think this is just the the good old divide. It's either or, right? Personally, I like Call of Duty more because this Pripyat level in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, it was just my favorite level, and I played like, must be 50 times or so. I don't know why, it's always the same level, but it was just so great. And with multiplayer, I think we played also, back in college, we just played Modern Warfare multiplayer. So I've never played Battlefield, so this is why I picked Call of Duty over Battlefield, because I don't know. But if I had to pick Call of Duty, Battlefield, or I don't know, Her Story, I would pick Her Story. Because yeah, with Call of Duty, when I first played, my first Call of Duty was Modern Warfare. And when I thought, okay, now the game is really picking up, it started rolling the credits. And I was used to shooter games like Half-Life that take, I don't know how long I played, 20 hours, 30 hours. And after Call of Duty, it was just explosions everywhere. And after 5 hours, the show was over. And I felt ripped off a little bit. I tried Modern Warfare 2 and I thought, thank you very much. I've had my fill of military warfare, as only so many brown people you can shoot. So what's the point of it? I'm at crossroads and I would love to hear your thoughts, especially now after the slaughter of microtransactions. I've published a game to the Android store and I have received many downloads and a very good rating. This is great. If you manage to get any downloads on Android, this is already very commendable, because in my experience, the mobile market is just overrun. It's really hard to get downloads there. And if you do, for example, if you really make a good game and you charge people way too less for it, because let's be honest, if you charge $5 for a really great experience on mobile, people are used to free-to-play games and they will hate you and vote you down because you're not giving them a game for free. And even if you give them a game for free, they will vote you down because they don't like your graphics. I'm probably exaggerating a bit here, but yeah, congratulations if you managed to publish something to Android and it's getting downloads. I tried myself making a little app, which mainly for my personal use. I think I've mentioned it before. It's this clapperboard, which just makes a beep and then starts. It flashes and beeps at the same time, so you can synchronize audio and video, because I use it for video shooting. And I put it on the store and sell it, and I can each month it pays some of my bills that I use in the coffee house. So I think I call this a success. So if you manage to get your game out there on Android and get noticed, congratulations already. Honestly, same here. I prefer thinking of microtransactions as cosmetics only, so anyone who cannot afford them may still enjoy the full experience, but some can, yeah. I think I've been biased because I've watched a lot of Jim Sterling videos, and he's very adamant about microtransactions, even if they are called they're only cosmetic, or as he calls them, only cosmetic. It's a sham, because you see other people running around with flaming swords and pets also on flames, and you just there in your crummy default skin. And if you look at games like Fortnite, where kids get bullied in school because their parents didn't pay up for them for the cool skins, because they are having the default skins. And this doesn't have to be, right? If I mean, in I don't know, in Tomb Raider, oh, maybe this is a bad example. Okay, let's pick in Uncharted. In the first Uncharted, nobody gets bullied if they play with a character that looks different because of a different skin. So, yeah, in my opinion, even if it's just called cosmetic microtransactions, I think it would be much more honest if a game provides you a donation link, because that way it means the game stays the same for everyone. And if you really want to give to the developers, you don't get anything else but the gratification of thank you so much for supporting our game, that we can give out to everyone. And in my personal opinion, I think the best game that was free to play that I played so far, that felt the most honest in a sense, was damn it, now the name escaped me. Path of Exile. I was itching for this good old Diablo 2 feeling, and with Diablo 3 I kind of felt ripped off, to be honest. Played Path of Exile for 10 hours or so, and then I wrote into the chat, hey, I really like this game. What should I buy to support the developers that helps me in playing the game? And what I really liked about this game is that never the shop came first, and it was really in your face, and every selection in your menu defaulted to, yeah, let's have a look at the shop. No, it was really, people told me, yeah, you just invest $10 in getting a bigger inventory or a bigger chest, bank chest account size. And this I felt totally worth it, and I spent 10 euros and never played the game again after a horrible death with my character that was set to brutal, where he never can die or something like this. But still, I didn't feel ripped off. At the same time, I still feel ripped off for paying money for Wizards Unite, the Niantic game, because at the heart of it, the whole game experience is tailored around people spending money. And it just feels so drawn out, and you have to wait for your spell energy, and it's you always, I feel, when a game punishes you for playing it because you run out of power or energy, it's not really fun. And once you pay up, when you decide, okay, I'm going to shell out, I don't know, $10, and then you really start how the mechanics fall apart, because it's not built that you just keep constantly spending and you really get to a point where it's just it's no point playing anymore because you're just breezing through. And yeah, man, this has turned into a rant. I'm so sorry. Apparently, I've lost a couple of viewers, but this is totally fine. Okay, no, I don't have the know-how to make multiplayer games, single player with only with cosmetics. Single player only with cosmetics. I'm all for it. I want to run around in my flaming unicorn armor of flames +3 fire +2 unicorn sparkles. What is the game called? Apparently I missed something, but the revenue it makes is quite low, so I'm adding microtransactions and more ads. Yeah, with mobile it's really hard how to make money off of it, right? Like I said, if you make something a premium game, people will bitch about why isn't this free to play. If you put in a lot of ads, people will complain about there are so many ads in there. And personally, I've toyed with the idea of making a mobile game because I like just that you swish around just for interactions. But in the end, it's like I said, it's so hard to get noticed because mobile games, if you just look at Zynga and King Games, this is where the big bucks are being made, and it's impossible to get past all those corporations with hundreds of millions of concurrent players and downloads because they will always rank first and they will always outspend you in terms of marketing. So this is why I thought, yeah, I really want to look at different avenues for my games. But yeah, if you have to rely on really your games turning a profit, I really don't know what I can recommend you. Personally, like I said, for me, I think the most honest way is to charge up front and say, yeah, this costs this much, but then you get the whole game. Everything is in there. If you want a cool skin or something, you don't have to pay for it. You have to unlock it by beating the game in 20 minutes or something. So that your rewards are within the game and not just your reward is paying money. And at the same time, of course, having a donate button that is very easy to use. But again, I don't know what I should tell you. Maybe make many little games, and then revenue just adds up. But of course, it's easier said than done to say, yeah, like make 50 games and live off that. You're welcome. For us devs, though, it's very insightful, so don't apologize for the rant. Okay, good. So I would have ranted anyway, but I'm trying to apologize now so that I don't feel too bad for ranting for 20 minutes now. Jesus. Since my first mobile game in 2013, I've earned a total of 10 euros. I'm never gonna reach the minimum payout threshold, but that's okay. I mean, I think it's a success if anyone is willing to pay for your game, even if it's just one person and even if it's just your mom, because man, it's really hard to get my mom interested in the things that I'm doing. She really doesn't quite understand it. Of course, it's a different generation, but she still doesn't doesn't get it. But yeah, if you make any kind of money of your game, it's already congratulations. You're a professional game developer. You found something that people, or you made something, some experience that people think, yeah, I'm willing to pay money for it. So congratulations already, you've made it. And if you didn't have anything that people pay for, probably you've made some kind of experience that is still of value to people. Like the many Ludum Dare games that I've played, man, so many ideas. It's just incredible. It's really humbling how some people can interpret those horrible themes. Okay, let's have one last look at the chat. You should make mobile games, Phil. They are a perfect platform for creative people like you, even for indie devs. Yeah, you know what? I really like sitting down in front of a computer and using keyboard and mouse. I think the one mobile game that I tried making was some kind of balloon popping game. Yeah, I'm not very original. But I've realized with all these Android updates and different aspect ratios and store stuff, I was just, even before getting properly into the game development, I was just terrified by all this huge ballooning of stuff you need to do around it. And yeah, analytics, of course, and then store presence and maybe cross marketing and getting the word out. And I was just, I was really turned off. And I thought, I just hunker down and make my little pixel games, and this feels nice, this feels wholesome, and I like using mouse and keyboard, and yeah, sorry. And sooner or later I want to dive full into making an experience within Unity. I have this obsession lately with photogrammetry, and I really want to see something from the real world here that I maybe can translate to Unity and make some kind of Myst-like puzzle game, but at the same time I'm not good at puzzle design, so we will see how that goes. Do you have a side job, or do you make all your living through social media and games? Oh my god, if I'm so grateful that I have not one but actually two side jobs. Well, I have a main job. I'm part-time employed as a colorist working with Red Bull Media, which means this big bold Red Bull look. I'm quite proud of it because, well, at first I was proud of it. Right now I can't shake it, and if I need to do some color grading for feature films or where something is a little bit more subtle and not this bold and big colorful, it's really hard to get it out of my system. And yeah, I'm also freelancing, making compositing and digital effects. Right now this is why I have had a very busy week, and after this stream I will just cram for until 6 in the morning to get something done. And yeah, this is what pays my bills, because with social media I'm just a small fry, right? I probably can't live off this thing here, but it's so much fun. I love it so much, and this is why I'm doing it. You can market well. I don't think marketing money makes you a professional game dev. Yeah, the marketing money, as soon as you need to pay for marketing, you're competing with anyone who has money. And I think for indies, marketing is really trying to find the right people to talk about your game. It's getting the right niche, there is this buzzword of guerrilla marketing, where you do something so crazy, so outrageous, so fitting for your game that you don't have to pay for marketing, because a blog will pick it up and says, yeah, this dev drank 10,000 gallons of Coca-Cola for a good cause. This is a horrible idea, but something along those those things. And I think the indie community is pretty closely knit, and I think the most interesting games that I discover is usually through my Twitter feed, and this is I think the best way of marketing nowadays, because as soon as you want to place an ad on Facebook and pay $5 for it, good luck, you reach 800 accounts and 790 of them are bots who just like it, but they don't translate into sales. Believe me, I've tried it. The most profitable games for mobile are AAA titles, and are hyper casual crappy games that anyone can make. The thing is, since there is a job that's called monetization designer and progression designer, man, those games are just so streamlined that they give you just enough game that keeps you hooked. And I feel that many mobile games that are just raking in the money, they are not primarily about making a good game. It's more or less a very finely tuned psychological manipulative machinery to get you hooked just enough, or just the right people, that they keep spending and don't feel bad about spending. There are many GDC talks out there about you feel dirty watching it, of how to exploit people to keep spending more. It's not as in your face as it was, I think, 5 years or so, where they just said, just keep switching the buttons around for don't pay and pay, so that children accidentally hit the pay button or something like this. This is completely unethical. And this is, again, personally for me, why I don't like those kind of games, because I always feel dirty. I feel like I really have to be on guard, because I'm sooner or later being taken advantage of, and then I will spend money. Oh my god, I'm ranting again, and I've been streaming now for 2 hours. Okay, I'll be answering one last question there in the chat. Well, it's time to find out if the bed bugs are hungry tonight. Oh, bye, mon dieu. Yeah, for me as well. And when I say bed bugs are hungry, that means they have to stay hungry, because I will be up until 6 in the morning. Okay, bye. And I always get triggered when I see those simple physics games getting advertised to me. Yeah, at some point you've just seen so many of those games, and you really know, it's not a personal statement of a developer or really what they think. Yeah, we want to make those games for people who love that kind of games and also make our living, but it's more like how much money can we squeeze out of all the people that are gullible enough to play this game. And yeah, I think I've mentioned this, like I've repeated this like 20 times now. Okay, so thank you so much for staying there for my incredibly one-sided rant about why I hate those games that are just trying to make money. It's okay if you make money from your games, don't get me wrong, but if you just make games to get rich, I don't think I like this outlook. On the other hand, keep making games if it's your passion, if you love it. Bring more people to making games. We're all a huge community, and group hug everyone. And thank you so much for following me on my look into the past of my old horrible quick basic games. Okay, again, thank you so much for watching. See you next Sunday, and unicorn, stay hydrated. Okay, now where is my OBS studio that I can say thank you so much for watching and see you next week? There we go. Bye. No. Oh man, I'm so glad that I'm not a TV station production, because it would be blooper time every day. So okay.